Garcia, voice of the people. Z. Garcia, voice of the people.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my top 100 games of all time. This is my 2016 edition of this list. I did it once before in 2014. And so throughout my list here, and today, by the way, I'm covering 70 through 61, I'm going to be telling you what the ranking was, if it was on the list at all, last time I did the list, and why I think it might have moved around a little bit. So, there's a couple of interesting ones on this this chunk of the list. There's 5 new games, so half the list here is games that were not on the list last time. There's one game that is not new at all, and I don't remember why it wasn't on my list before. So it was surprising to me when I went back and checked the info that it wasn't on my list last time. And then there is one game that used to be my number 10 last time I did this list, and it has dropped quite a bit. So we'll get to that when I hit that number. So here we go. Let's kick it off right away with number 70, and number 70 is Hive. Hive is one of my favorite 2-player games, abstract games, with wonderful construction, really cool plastic pieces, a nice theme. It's a thinky abstract game, works very well. This was my 34, and it is now my 70, and that's a big drop, but again, these things are going to move around. From the 30s to the 70s is a pretty big change, and I think it's probably because there are so many good 2-player games that have come out lately, and there will be several on the list. There's definitely one more on this piece of the list. Yes. All right, so that's my number 70, Hive. My number 69 is Atlantis Rising, which was my 47 last time I did this. And this is an underrated co-op game, one that I'm not sure why doesn't get a lot of love. It's out of print now. It came out from Z-Man Games, I want to say. I don't even know if they had more than one print run, and then the game was sort of gone. And no one talks about it. I haven't really seen anybody who is into it except me. I don't know if it's a popular game out there with folks, but I really like it. I think it's a neat new twist on co-op games, and it's the main idea behind it being it's a push your luck cooperative game in which you decide what you're going to do, where you're going to put your little workers. It's a worker placement game also. And then you see if those things you decided to do, which you can sort of push your luck on, if they paid off. You know, you can say, okay, I'm going to take a bigger reward for my character, for my little meeple, but if things don't go my way, I get nothing. So it's an all or nothing thing. Really neat. I like it a lot. Great theme, great artwork. I don't know what's going on with that one, but I really like it. That's Atlantis Rising. My 68 is brand new to the list, and this is the version I have now is the first printing, but it's being reprinted by Cool Mini or Not, and that is Unusual Suspects. And Unusual Suspects is sort of the game is a vehicle for laughter. The game is just sort of there to facilitate you enjoying the people that are around you. Get some laughs going. And yes, it can be adult, and yes, it can be racist, and yes, it can be not good, you know, but it's your choice to take it there or not. And I've played it with my family. I played it with my nephews. I've played it with many different groups. And the game adapts to all of that in very funny ways. So, great party game. Absolutely one of my new favorites. And that is Unusual Suspects, my 68. 67 for me was 50 last year, which is not much of a change. And that is The Resistance. The Resistance, a social deduction game. The one that really took, this is the first one I can think of, that took Werewolf and thought, okay, how do we make this game faster and more strategic and do away with needing someone to run the game who can't really play? Boom, this game nailed that, and it did it in a really straightforward, streamlined way, and it just works well. It's dropped a little bit for me because I think I've maybe burnt out on it a little bit, but I cannot but recognize its brilliance, you know. And if you haven't heard of it or haven't played it, assuming assuming you don't hate the genre, you definitely got to check it out. The Resistance 67. My 66 is a brand new game, and this one is just so original that I think it sort of shoves its way onto the list based on its brilliance and originality alone, and that is Witness. Witness is a game. It only works for 4 players, and it's sort of like cooperative puzzle solving, mystery, deduction. The game has a bunch of cases, and they're basically little puzzles that have, been sort of broken apart. And then everybody, all the 4 players, get some sort of information that they read in a booklet, and then you whisper to the person next to you some information you've got. And they have their own thing that they read, and a new piece of information now. And then they'll whisper again the collective information to the next player, and so on. The game's like 10 minutes, that's it. And then once everybody has heard all this information, then you are posed 3 questions or something like that, and then you write down your answers. You see how everybody did. It's kind of hard to describe. You have to experience it almost. It's the kind of game, I'll give you, that if I heard someone tell me about it, I'd say, okay, that's cute, whatever. No, it wouldn't grab me probably, but playing this thing gives me that same feeling that making a really clever move in a game or solving a puzzle in a game gives me. It's that feeling of the designers make me feel smart, and that's just wonderful. I love that there are games that can do that. Some of the best games out there, I think, let you do moves or make choices or whatever that make you feel like, wow, I feel clever, or I feel good about that thing I just did. And so I think this game does that on, the ratio of those moments to play length is so high that I really love it. And it's puzzly and fun. Oh man, so good. So that's Witness 66. My 65 was my 10 last year. And it's dropped quite a bit. I did not remember it was my 10 when I did this list, by the way. I went back and looked at all those numbers way after. It is Libertalia. And I'm not quite sure why it's dropped over 50 spots. I know it was my game of the year that it came out. And that might still be true. I think maybe it's a problem of replayability has dropped for me a little bit. I also know it does not scale very well. The game I've played with 2 players, and that was not good. So there is that to it also. And I still like it. I still think the artwork's amazing. I still like the piratey vibe of the whole thing. I still think it is a very straightforward and clean, streamlined design. The whole thing is still in my wheelhouse. I still like it, but I guess it gets a little samey after you've played so much, maybe, is what it is. Even though there are quite a few characters in there, the game perhaps is a little bit samey, which is why it dropped on my list. But I'm making it sound like I'm being negative. I'm not at all. This is in my top 100 games out of, well, way more than 100. So I was just surprised that it had dropped that many without me realizing it. You know what I mean? When I did the list last time, I was just very high on it because it was fresh, and I was like, oh my goodness, finally an amazing pirate game, which are not that common, it seems. And that's probably why it had been a little bit higher than it would or should have been. So anyway, that's my 65 Libertalia. Still really like this game, don't get me wrong. All right. My number 66 is brand new to the list, and this is the one that I'm not sure why it was not on my list last time. This is Magic the Gathering. Now, I've played Magic the Gathering for a long time. I've played Magic the Gathering not since it came out or anything, but since like 6th edition, something like that. And I thought it was on my list last time. When I went back and checked, and I was surprised that it was not on it. I had not put it on my top 100. Now, again, that doesn't mean that much, really. It could have been my 120, and that's fine. But I really like Magic the Gathering. Now, given maybe I am by turns amazed by the gameplay design of it, by the ideas in the game. I am by turns pushed out by what I hear from tournament scene or what I see in stores of people playing. I think the tournament scene for Magic the Gathering and casual Magic the Gathering are almost two different beasts. They really are, to me, it seems to me. And again, this is from an outsider's perspective. But maybe that's what it was. Maybe at that time I was thinking Magic the Gathering, and in my head I would just think of that tournament scene. But Magic the Gathering is a wonderful two-player, especially two-player anyway. I know it could be played with more, but a two-player casual at-home game. It's a great game to go and buy a few cards for, not go crazy, but build your own deck, throw a little surprise in there, play again with your significant other, play again with a friend. It doesn't have to be a lifestyle game, but the game will give you a nice amount of content, and it does sort of have an ebb and flow to its life in your own at-home plays, So I like it a lot. I think it's a wonderful design. Clearly has proven to be worth its weight in gold. It's passed the test of time. Magic the Gathering is just amazing. An amazing card game, really. And so much has come from it, My 63 was my 27 last year. Also a big drop. But that's because there are so many good games now that I could see as gateway games. And this is one of the ones that was so high because it is such an amazing gateway game. Still is, but there are many others now. That is Alhambra. And Alhambra is a tile-laying economic game. And I always say, this is the one game that if I talk to someone who's not a gamer and I ask them, what's your game? What do you like? And they say Monopoly, which a lot of people would say Monopoly. Then Alhambra is one of the first ones I think of to show them something new that they might still be familiar with, and that's largely because of the money management in it. Everybody understands that concept of grab money, spend money. You know what I mean? And the tile laying, yeah, that's cool, but the being efficient with money management is, I think, what hooks people that are not already gamers or modern gamers, So Alhambra, my 63. My 62, brand new game to the list, and it is an amazingly streamlined, old-school Euro game called Gold West. And Gold West looks great on the table, has a nice amount of really clever choices. It just feels like a Knizia in his heyday, It's got that feeling of this came from someone that knows how to design a game and then start taking away things that don't need to be there until the only thing that's left is that good stuff. And so there's nothing superfluous in it. I really like it. I think Gold West is just a spectacular design, and this is definitely a designer that I'm looking forward to seeing more from in the future because what's his name? Alex Kevern, I believe. He's done now this and World's Fair 1901 and a little card game I like called Daxu. So far, I'm impressed. So I'm hoping to see more from this designer in the future. And then lastly, my 61, also a brand new game to the list, a two-player game only, and that is Seven Wonders Duel. Seven Wonders Duel being from two of my favorite designers in the business, Bruno Catala and Antoine Boza are both brilliant game designing minds, and this little game, that they were able to come up with is just firing on all cylinders. This game is spectacular. This is such a fun game that for how few things are in the box, how little content, quote unquote, there appears to be in the box, gives you quite a few choices. There's a lot of things to consider in this game. And the different ways that the game might end, you have to sort of keep all these balls in the air. You got to juggle all these things. The whole thing is just really clever. Exactly my kind of game. Again, I know I keep saying that I like French designs because they give you the clean design concepts that came from the Euro style of thinking and then the American style of thinking with powers and actions and things. And I think the French designers were the first ones to figure out how to merge those two things very well. And I say they're the ones that are still doing it the best. This game exemplifies that for me. I also got a sneak peek of an expansion coming out for it. And that's going to be good stuff too. So I'm very excited for the future of this little game as well. So there you have it. That is my 7 Wonders Duel, my 61. And that's it for this chunk of games, my friend. We are almost at the halfway point. Very excited. There's so many good games on this list that just sing to me, and I like sharing that with you. So hopefully you will be sticking around. Come on back for more of these. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Z can be a little polemic. He stings like the 8th outbreaking pandemic. Z's got flavor in his top 100 games.
Lights shower.
Z Garcia, voice of the people. Z Garcia, voice of the people.